We start with the developing news from West Asia. Israel's retaliatory strikes against Iran are underway. At least 6 loud explosions were heard on the outskirts of the Iranian capital, Tehran. Explosions were also heard in the nearby city of Barrage. Shortly after, a second wave of airstrikes was reported. Blasts have been heard in the city of Shiraz. The Israeli military has now confirmed that it is launching what it calls precision strikes on military targets in Iran. Israeli military spokesperson Daniel Hagari has released a video statement confirming the strikes. He says that Iran and its proxies in the region have been attacking Israel since October 7th on 7 fronts, including direct attacks from Iranian soil, and that Israel's defensive and offensive capabilities are fully mobilized. Hagari added that like every other sovereign country in the world, Israel has the right and the duty to respond.
In response to months of continuous attacks from the regime in Iran against the State of Israel, right now, the Israel Defense Forces is conducting precise strikes on military targets in Iran. The regime in Iran and its proxies in the region have been relentlessly attacking Israel since October 7th on 7 fronts, including direct attacks from Iranian soil. Like every other sovereign country in the world, the State of Israel has the right and the duty to respond. Our defensive and offensive capabilities are fully mobilized. We will do whatever necessary to defend the State of Israel and the people of Israel.
Washington has also confirmed that Israel is conducting targeted strikes in Iran, calling it an exercise of self-defense. National Security Council spokesperson Sean Savet has also said that the attacks are in response to Iran's ballistic missile attack against Israel on October 1st. According to U.S. media reports, the White House was notified a short time before Israel launched its strikes. However, it stresses that it is not involved in the Israeli strikes. Meanwhile, explosions have also been reported in Syrian capital Damascus. Media reports say Syrian air defenses were intercepted missiles launched by Israel from the direction of the Israeli-occupied Syrian Golan Heights and the Lebanese territories. Israeli media says that the Security Cabinet had approved the plan for the strike last night, adding that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant are now in an underground bunker at the Defense Ministry headquarters in Tel Aviv. Iranian media says that several army bases in western and southwestern Tehran were targeted. Iran state TV has also said that operations at Tehran's airports are now normal and that no fire or explosion was reported at Tehran oil refinery. A senior Biden official has said that so far, Israel's strikes have been limited to military targets and do not include nuclear or oil installations. And for the latest, our correspondent Jody Cohen is now joining us on the phone from Ra'anana. Jody, hi. What's happening on the ground in Israel?
The Israel Defense Forces have confirmed that they have launched a retaliatory strike against Iran. That's after Iran's ballistic missile attack on Israel, in which it fired 200 ballistic missiles on the 1st of October. Now, several loud explosions have been heard in Tehran and the city of Barrage, and the IDF said that they've carried out precise strikes on Iranian military targets in response to months of continuous attacks from the Iranian regime against the State of Israel, and also attacks from its proxies on 7 fronts. Now, it says that like every country, Israel has the right and duty to respond, and that its defensive and offensive capabilities are fully mobilized, and that Israel will do whatever is necessary to defend Israel and the people of Israel.
Jody, the U.S. is saying that Israel has the right to defend itself, but it has no involvement in this Iranian strikes. Would you tell us more about that?
So according to reports, Israel gave notice to the United States just before the strike began. We know that the US sent their THAAD missile defense system to Israel, and they said that was to protect US interests and US citizens in Israel. On Friday, we also heard that the US sent multiple F-16 fighter jets from Germany to the Middle East in preparation for a defense. Now, President Biden, we know, has said since Iran's ballistic missile attack that he understands that Israel would need to respond to Iran's attack and appear to support an Israeli response, but he made clear that he was against Israel striking Iran's oil or nuclear sites. And now we're saying that Israel has said that it's striking military targets in Iran. So it appears that the US and Israel are in alignment on that, and that Israel has listened to the United States on that front. Remains to be seen, of course, what happens next.
That is our correspondent, Jody Cohen from Ra'anana, Israel. Let's get the latest from the United States. Our correspondent, Susan Tehrani, has sent us this report on what exactly was US's involvement in the strikes.
The White House was notified shortly before Israel carried out its airstrikes against Iran, according to Fox News. U.S. officials were allegedly angry that Israel didn't give them a heads up last month when its airstrikes eliminated Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah in Beirut. The White House now says that Israeli military targets are, quote unquote, an exercise of self-defense following Tehran's ballistic missile attack earlier this month against Israel. National Security spokesperson Sean Savet said, quote, targeted strikes on military targets are an exercise of self-defense and in response to Iran's ballistic missile attacks against Israel on October 1st. The Biden administration has said that so far Israeli strikes appear to be limited to military targets and do not include nuclear sites. The U.S. says that it was not involved in these strikes against Iran on the part of Israel. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
We also spoke to Peter Kuznick, who's a professor of history and director of the Nuclear Studies Institute at American University, and this is what he told us.
I think that the Biden administration has managed to avoid a worst case scenario. And that's very, very important that they've succeeded in that. But they haven't succeeded in broader diplomacy. They haven't done anything effectively to constrain Israel, Netanyahu government, and to end the fighting in the area. Now, the caveat is that Donald Trump it would be even more hawkish. Donald Trump has told the Israelis that they should strike the nuclear facilities, that whatever they want to do, he approves of. So that would be even more reckless, and that would almost certainly get us involved in a broader regional war. You have to remember that Iran was just in Russia, along with Prime Minister Modi, at the BRICS summit. And the BRICS issued a very strong statement calling for a ceasefire and condemning Israeli actions in the region. Not that they are turning a blind eye to the atrocities on October 7th. They see that and they've condemned it. However, Israel's response has been so out of proportion. The slaughter in Gaza, the starvation that's going on now. You have to remember that 85% of Gaza's economy has been destroyed, that Gaza has an 80% unemployment rate, and that people are literally starving. If you see those pictures from there, the food and the medicine and the aid is not getting in. So we've got a humanitarian catastrophe on top of a three-front war right now that could turn into a much broader war.
We also spoke to Ruthie Blum, who is a former advisor at the office of the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and award-winning columnist, and this is what she told us.
Well, yes, I think the fact that we call it a wave, this is the second wave, indicates that there are going to be more waves, especially since you have to understand Iran is quite far away from Israel. And as far as we know, there are some 140 Israeli Air Force planes in the air and in Iran, and you don't just execute an operation like that if it's going to be very short and then just come back. And the fact is that unlike most of the times that the IDF spokesman, Hagari, has made an announcement about such a strike anywhere, it's always been after the planes have returned to Israel. This is an exception. These planes are still over Iran, so that's significant. The other thing we know is that Israel has hit or is targeting the long-range ballistic missile facilities and also air defense capabilities of Iran. And it's true that it has not gone after the oil fields or the nuclear facilities. But what we know is that the Biden administration has been urging Israel for weeks not to do anything with the oil fields or the nuclear facilities. So it's possible that the reason that's being stressed has to do with Biden's admonition.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.